Filipinos have a way of speaking English that surprises many people around the world. At first, it seems simple, almost charming. But when you listen closely, there's a rhythm, a pattern, and an unpredictability that makes it utterly fascinating, and sometimes shocking. You'll hear sentences structured differently than you expect, words pronounced in ways that defy standard rules, and expressions that make you question if you're hearing English at all. Imagine a person saying, "I'm going to the market later," and it comes out like, "I go market later, ah?" It's subtle, almost musical, and yet every word carries meaning. This is not just about pronunciation, it's about identity. Every Filipino speaker carries with them history, culture, and layers of influence from Spanish, Malay, and American colonization. And these layers show up in the English they speak. You might be shocked to discover that many words they use are hybrid forms, creatively constructed, or borrowed from Tagalog and other local languages. What's more fascinating is how Filipinos adapt English to their social environment. In offices, they switch seamlessly between formal and casual. At home, English blends with Tagalog, Cebuano, or Hiligaynon effortlessly. In fact, you can almost map a person's background, city, and education just from how they speak English. You'll also notice something else: the rhythm. Filipino English has a melodic flow. Pauses, emphases, and intonations are unlike anything you hear in standard American or British English. When a Filipino says a long sentence, it often feels like storytelling, with natural highs and lows that keep your ears glued. It's hypnotic, captivating, and sometimes it can be downright confusing. Shocking to many foreigners is the creativity in Filipino English. Words are played with, shortened, or combined. A sentence like, "I don't have money now," may become, "no money now, ah." And while it might seem grammatically wrong, it communicates emotion, urgency, and friendliness at the same time. This is why you'll often hear Filipinos being described as charming or easy to understand, even when their grammar seems off. Then there's humor. Filipino English is not just functional, it's playful. They love puns, wordplay, and subtle jokes that are delivered in English, yet feel uniquely Filipino. Sometimes, a simple sentence can make you laugh because of how it's pronounced, or the unexpected twist in the words. You'll also notice cultural influence. Many Filipinos sprinkle their English with honorifics, local terms or expressions that have no direct translation. Words like po and opo, polite markers, are used in English conversations naturally, creating a mix that is uniquely Filipino. It might sound strange to outsiders, but it conveys respect and warmth, something English alone often struggles to do. And then there's speed. Filipinos can adjust their English for comprehension almost instinctively. In classrooms, they speak slowly to make sure everyone understands. On the streets, conversations can be rapid-fire, mixing English with Tagalog and other languages so quickly it's hard for outsiders to follow. But native speakers, they understand every nuance instantly. Even pronunciation carries surprises. Letters that are silent in standard English may be spoken, vowels elongated, consonants softened. The word focus might sound like focus, while interest may come out like interest. These variations are not mistakes. They are a reflection of rhythm, emphasis, and the Filipino ear for melody. Education also plays a role. In schools, English is a primary medium of instruction, and textbooks are largely American or British in style. Yet outside classrooms, English evolves naturally, taking on local influences. Some words are borrowed directly, some adapted, and some entirely invented. This creates a linguistic creativity that's hard to find elsewhere. By now, you might be thinking this is random or inconsistent. But there's method in what seems chaotic. The way Filipinos speak English is adaptive. It's efficient, expressive, and emotionally intelligent. And if you spend hours listening, you'll realize there's a hidden logic to it, a pattern that reveals both culture and character. Even foreign visitors often find themselves unconsciously imitating Filipino English after staying in the country. Why? Because it's engaging. It's musical, and despite the occasional grammatical twist, it's surprisingly understandable, even memorable. As we move forward, you'll see shocking examples of sentences, pronunciations, and expressions that defy expectation. Some will make you laugh, some will make you scratch your head, and some might even leave you questioning your own understanding of English. Filipino English is not just a dialect or accent. It's an entire approach to communication, shaped by history, culture, and emotion. And by the end of this, you might just find yourself fascinated, frustrated, and amazed all at once. Let's dive deeper into the way Filipinos construct their sentences in English. At first glance, it seems simple, even casual, but pay attention and you'll notice something surprising. Words are often reordered in a way that feels unusual to standard English speakers. For instance, instead of saying, "I will go to the store tomorrow," you might hear, "Tomorrow I go store." It's direct, stripped of unnecessary words, and efficient. But it also carries a rhythm all its own. The sentence structure isn't random. It's a subtle reflection of Tagalog grammar, which often places verbs before objects or rearranges phrases for emphasis. This makes Filipino English unique. It's English with a local heartbeat. And here's the shocking part. Most Filipinos don't even realize they're doing it. It's instinctive, learned from years of immersion in both languages. Pronunciation patterns will continue to surprise you. Some consonants soften while vowels are stretched. Words like vegetable become vegetable, and comfortable sounds like comfortable. These shifts aren't errors, they're adaptations influenced by both the local ear and global exposure. The surprising thing is, despite these changes, comprehension remains high. A Filipino can understand American, British, or Australian English and adjust their own speech accordingly. Another striking feature is the use of fillers and particles. You'll hear a, na, or po peppered throughout conversations. Imagine someone saying, "I'm going to the market, later po." To an outsider, it might seem excessive, but each particle adds nuance, politeness, hesitation, or emphasis. It's subtle, cultural, and often hilarious to those unfamiliar with it. Filipino English also loves redundancy, but in a charming way. Phrases like return back or enter inside appear everywhere. While a strict grammar book would frown, in practice, these expressions convey clarity, emphasis, and sometimes humor. They're a glimpse into how Filipinos think about communication: practical, expressive, and emotionally tuned. Then comes vocabulary. Filipinos borrow heavily from English, but also invent words or meanings. You might hear "open the light" instead of "turn on the light," or "close the fan" instead of "turn off the fan." To a foreign ear, it's strange, but within context, it's instantly understood. Some expressions are so common that locals wouldn't consider them unusual at all. The shock. These variations exist everywhere, from small towns to the capital, and they're embraced as normal. Now, humor in Filipino English deserves a spotlight. Filipinos have a natural knack for wordplay. Jokes often rely on mispronunciations, unexpected word choices, or mixing English with Tagalog. You might hear a simple sentence like, "Don't touch my phone, it's temperamental," delivered with a perfectly straight face. The humor is subtle but sharp, and sometimes the joke is in the way the words are said, not what they mean. Filipino English is also adaptive socially. Watch a conversation in a professional setting. The language becomes more formal, polished, with clear grammar. But switch to a street conversation, and sentences shorten, particles appear, and rhythm dominates. This flexibility is shocking to outsiders who expect one standard: English. Filipinos switch effortlessly, blending comprehension and relatability. One of the most eye-opening parts of understanding how Filipinos speak English is hearing them in real, natural conversations. Not the polished call center tone, not the classroom formality, just raw, everyday English that reveals creativity, unpredictability, and moments that are unintentionally hilarious or shockingly clever. Imagine walking into a Filipino household where English floats in and out of conversations like a background melody. A mother might shout, "Close the light. The electric bill is running." And to a foreigner, this sounds unusual, because "close the light" isn't standard English. yet every Filipino knows exactly what it means. It's efficient, clear, and instinctively understood. Then there's the classic, "Open the TV," a perfectly logical phrase in Filipino English. Why? Because in everyday thinking, switches open and close. Doors open and close. Why shouldn't the TV? It's not wrong. It's logical in their cultural framework. But step outside the house and you'll hear even more surprising patterns. Listen to teenagers talking. "Bro, you go school today?" "Later na lang, I'm lazy eh." It's English, but rearranged with a distinct Filipino rhythm. The A at the end isn't random. It's an emotional marker, a casual push of attitude or explanation. It can mean because, that's why, don't argue, or it's obvious. Regional differences add another layer of fascination. English, spoken in Manila, has a slightly different melody than Cebu, Davao, or Iloilo. You'll notice variations in intonation, vocabulary, and speed. Yet, no matter the region, Filipino English retains its charm. Melodic, playful, and culturally infused. Some regions emphasize certain syllables, others stretch vowels, and in every case there's a subtle musicality that makes it memorable. Another aspect many people find surprising is storytelling. Filipinos naturally tell stories in English, weaving pauses, gestures, and expressions into sentences. A casual anecdote becomes cinematic. For instance, yesterday I saw my friend, he was like, "You wouldn't believe it, eh? He fell into the river." Notice the pauses, the particles, the emphasis. They add drama, humor, and emotion. Even a mundane event becomes riveting. Finally, let's talk about the global impact. Many Filipinos work overseas, teaching, call centering, or collaborating internationally. They are often praised for their English skills, but what is shocking is how they retain their unique accent, rhythm, and style while remaining perfectly intelligible. Filipino English is not just correct. It's distinct, adaptable, and highly effective in real communication. By the end of this segment, you'll begin to see Filipino English not as broken or simplified, but as a living, breathing language. It's a blend of history, culture, melody, and practical communication. And once you understand its logic, every sentence, every pause, and every quirky expression suddenly makes sense. Foreigners often get stunned the first time they hear a Filipino use English to express frustration in the gentlest way possible. "I'm not angry. I'm just saying." The softens everything, even when someone is annoyed. Filipino English can turn a heated statement into a polite suggestion. That emotional intelligence is built into the language. You'll also hear sarcasm that's disguised behind politeness. Imagine someone walking into a room late, and the Filipino replies, "Oh, wow. Early, delivered with a straight face. Not loud, not aggressive. Just surgical sarcasm. There's also the shockingly creative shortcuts. Filipinos love to compress entire stories into small, punchy expressions. Someone might say, "He ghost me." "He disappear." "She go drama again." "Traffic is so traumatizing today." Each phrase is shortened, reconstructed, and emotionally loaded. But the real surprises appear during misunderstandings that turn into perfectly composed comedy. For example, a Filipino trying to speak formal English might say, "I will pass there later," meaning, "I will pass by your house later." But lacking the preposition becomes a cultural joke foreigners never forget. And then comes the inventiveness. Filipinos create new English forms when the standard one feels insufficient. A kid who wants candy might say, "I'm craving for sweet sweet." Doubling the word creates emphasis. It's expressive, cute, and unforgettable. Even in professional settings, some unique expressions appear. A boss might say, "Kindly revert back," or "Please advise accordingly." These expressions survive in offices, emails, and announcements because they've become part of the Filipino professional identity. One of the most shocking features of Filipino English is how fast it can switch from formal to casual in one breath. "Sir, regarding the proposal, we already submitted the draft. Pero wait lang, I'll double-check with them." A seamless code switching. It's an unspoken skill, balancing professionalism with cultural authenticity without losing clarity. Now, consider how Filipinos interact with foreigners using English. There's a natural instinct to adjust tone, vocabulary, and speed to make the listener comfortable. You'll see a Filipino who speaks fast with friends suddenly slow down and say, "Okay, sir, I will explain for you step by step." It's an adaptive ability, almost like linguistic empathy. But nothing shocks foreigners more than hearing Filipinos say deeply emotional things in a calm, almost playful tone. "I'm depressed, eh?" said casually, even jokingly, despite the serious English word. It shows how locals reinterpret emotion through cultural nuance. Another surprising habit is the question that sounds like a statement. "You're going. You're eating. You're coming with us?" No rising intonation, no clear question tone. Foreigners often freeze, unsure whether they're being asked or told. And then the politeness. Filipino English is drenched in respect markers. "Yes, ma'am." "Yes, sir." "Sorry, po." "Excuse me, po." These markers soften every sentence, turning even strict instructions into gentle suggestions. Finally, one of the most captivating aspects is how English becomes a storytelling tool. Filipinos don't just say what happened, they perform it. They adjust volume, stretch vowels, pause for dramatic effect, and add mimicry. A simple event becomes a full theatrical narrative. "Then the dog, you won't believe, he chased me like I owe him money." Every word, every pause, every emphasis makes Filipino English more than communication. It becomes entertainment. In corporate environments, certain words take on meanings that don't exist elsewhere. Avail becomes to take advantage of a promo or service. Follow-up becomes a noun and a verb simultaneously. Salvage, shockingly, means the opposite of the American meaning, due to Spanish influence. Then there's the influence of pop culture. Filipinos watch American films, Korean dramas, Filipino sitcoms, and anime, often all in the same week. Exposure to multiple accents shapes their English in unpredictable ways. A single speaker may sound American one moment, Filipino the next, then suddenly slip into a Korean-inspired intonation if they watch too much K-drama. This flexibility is why many foreigners notice that Filipinos adapt to their accent instantly. A Filipino talking to an American may automatically flatten vowels. Talking to a Brit, their tone shifts. Talking to another Filipino, the accent snaps back. It's an unconscious mimicry that makes communication smoother. Another shocker is how Filipinos use English for emotional storytelling. When something dramatic happens, their English gets more vivid, almost cinematic. "I was walking and then, boom, rain started like it was angry at me." The dramatization isn't random. Filipinos are natural storytellers. Even small events become narratives packed with humor, suspense, exaggeration, and charm. And then there's the politeness structure. Filipino English is woven with layers of respect, especially with elders or authority figures. Sentences soften, tones lighten, and disclaimers appear everywhere. "Sorry, po, but I think the file might be missing. I hope it's okay if I ask another question?" "I'll try my best, sir." English becomes a tool to maintain peace, avoid conflict, and show humility, even when asserting themselves. Yet beneath that politeness lies a stunning confidence. Filipinos speak English boldly, even when grammar slips. They push through errors with charm, humor, and certainty. It's this combination, modesty wrapped around confidence, that makes Filipino English so disarming and engaging. Even more surprising is how English becomes a bonding tool. Two strangers might start their conversation in Tagalog, but once English enters, the tone shifts. English signals openness, modernity, or playfulness. It can lighten the mood or elevate the conversation. Consider how friends teasing each other often switch to English. "Wow, you think you're special?" "Oh, please, don't be dramatic." The sarcasm becomes sharper in English, the humor louder, the friendship clearer. Filipino English is not merely spoken, it's felt. Every expression, every pause, every tone tells a story about the speaker's mood, background, and identity. By now, you're beginning to see that Filipino English is more than an accent. It's a mirror of their culture, a blend of history, a living evolution. And as we move deeper, the next segment will reveal the most shocking quirks, expressions that break English rules entirely but make perfect sense in the Filipino world. Words and sentences that sound impossible, yet function flawlessly. One of the most captivating and mind-bending parts of Filipino English is how it confidently breaks the rules of standard English, yet still makes perfect sense within Philippine culture. These quirks don't come from carelessness. They're the product of cultural shortcuts, emotional expression, and decades of linguistic blending. What shocks many foreigners is how functional these wrong English forms actually are. Take the word "for a while." In most countries, it means a short pause or waiting period. In the Philippines, it means, "Hold on, I'm putting you on hold, don't hang up." If you call a Filipino customer service agent, they will say, "For a while, sir." Then they'll mute the call. To foreigners, it's confusing. For Filipinos, it's so normal that nobody questions it. Then there's the legendary Filipino instruction, "Bring your ball pen." Not ballpoint pen, not pen. Just ball pen. It's not in standard English dictionaries, yet it's used nationwide and understood universally. Another shocker. What is your good name? This comes from old Asian politeness structures. It isn't literal. Filipinos simply mean, "What's your name?" But the good name adds courtesy, softness, and respect. A foreigner hearing it for the first time will freeze, confused, while the Filipino wonders why it's confusing at all. Then there's the infamous, "Where are you staying?" which often means, "Where do you live?" Why the difference? Because staying in Filipino English can mean temporary, permanent, visiting, or living. It depends on context, tone, and familiarity. One of the funniest quirks is how Filipinos use "it's so traffic." In standard English, traffic is a noun. In Filipino English, traffic is also an adjective. It's traffic outside. Super traffic today. Traffic is so heavy becomes traffic is so traffic. It sounds impossible, yet locals understand it instantly. The emotional vocabulary is even more surprising. Filipinos use English to express anxiety, exhaustion, and frustration in ways that sound dramatic, but are actually normal in everyday speech. "I'm so stressed, promise. My brain is not braining. I can't function, I'm dying." None of these are literal. They're emotional exaggerations meant to entertain and express feelings honestly. And then there are the accidental English innovations that became national trademarks. Phrases that foreigners find adorable, odd, or outright confusing. "Don't be too much. Hot like that? Why are you like that? Behave yourself, huh?" These expressions break grammar but make complete emotional sense. Filipinos also have a habit of adding "already" to sentences, giving them a sense of conclusion. "We go now, already." "Eat already?" "I finished the project already." The word signals finality or completeness, something Tagalog expresses with particles, and English alone can't convey as cleanly. Another quirk that astonishes listeners is the Filipino non-question question. "You're going out? You're hungry? You're leaving?" No rising tone. No clear question format. The listener must interpret the intention based on expression, volume, and context. It's a question, a statement, and a checkpoint all at once. Foreigners also find Filipino literal translations amusing. Because Filipinos think in images, English becomes visual. "Your face is familiar. You look like my classmate, but older. He's crying like there's no tomorrow. She's eating like she hasn't eaten in 10 years. These dramatic, exaggerated lines aren't meant to be rude. They're expressive storytelling. The most shocking are the Filipino confirmation words, tiny add-ons that completely change a sentence's emotional weight. "Diba? Right? Nakit already. Panira still yet, huh? Okay. Is, because obvious attitude. Ba? Question marker. Mix them with English and magic happens. "Let's go na. Don't leave me pa. You know him, eh? You're coming with us, huh? Lunch tayo. It's English, but not English. It's Filipino, but not fully Filipino. It exists in its own universe where grammar bends to emotion. The funniest, most shocking quirks appear when Filipinos unintentionally create brand new meanings simply because the phrase sounds right. I'll just go down the car. Pass me the ketchup. Oh, did you got it? You're so pang it but cute. Move a little bit backward front. These moments often become viral memes because they capture the heart of Filipino English. Messy, charming, creative, emotional, and endlessly entertaining. And yet, despite all these quirks, Filipino English remains one of the most understandable, flexible, and widely praised forms of English in the world. Foreigners laugh, Filipinos laugh harder. But underneath all the humor, Filipino English carries identity, survival, and pride.